And I'll ask everyone to mute. And I'm going to hand this over to Bobby.
Okay, everybody. We're still reading from our collection of short stories called Lucky Dogs, Lost Hats, and Dating Don'ts. And this story will be about a lost hat. And this is the guy who lost his hat. And he's really unhappy about it. And it's entitled Slugger. Where did my hat go? George asked his friend Doug. George had been looking for his favorite hat. He thought his housemate Doug was playing a trick on him by hiding his hat. Doug liked to joke around a lot. They were getting ready to go outside to play baseball. George could not play baseball without his hat. It was his lucky hat. Doug said, well, I don't know where your hat is, George. Did you leave it under your bed again? They were in George's bedroom. So George looked quickly under his bed. Well, it's not there. I know that you hid my hat. How about if you give me my hat, I will give you some ice cream. Doug loved ice cream. The two friends ate ice cream together almost every day. Well, ice cream sounds great, but I don't have your hat, Doug said. Give me my hat, Doug, George said, and he was getting really angry. I don't have your hat, honest, Doug said. Their other housemate, Mandy, heard the shouting and walked into George's room. Doug asked Mandy, have you seen George's hat? No, come on, let's go outside, George. Forget about your hat. It's time to play baseball. Mandy wanted to play baseball right away. And sometimes Mandy could be pretty impatient. George said, you know, I can't play baseball without my hat. He flipped over his pillow, but his hat wasn't there. He folded his arms. Today was turning out to be really bad. He didn't feel like playing baseball anymore. Mandy said, stop being so grumpy, George. You're acting like a baby. George didn't care. He sat on his bed. He felt like crying. Why weren't they helping him find his hat? Doug tried to make a joke. Knock it off, you George. And he hit his pillow. Mandy gave George a mean look. Geez, she said. She grabbed George's backpack and looked through it. The hat wasn't there. Doug took another look under George's bed, but the hat still wasn't there. George was getting more upset. He had lost his favorite hat. It had been his favorite hat for a long time. George had bought it over 10 years ago when he went to a football game. It was black and white and had red letters on it. And the more he thought about his lost hat, the more he felt like hitting his pillow again. Doug sat down beside George. He bumped George's knee with his own knee and said, George, let's go play baseball. You'll feel better once you get outside. Hey, and maybe your hat's on the baseball field. It's not in your room here. We know that much, said Mandy. George grumbled. He didn't want to speak, but Doug was right. They might find the hat somewhere else. So George, Doug, and Mandy walked down to the baseball field. There were other people playing at the field, and they were happy to see George. Hey, it's George the Slugger. Hey, be on my team, George. George still did not want to talk to anyone. He sat on the bench and waited for his turn to hit the ball. He was still trying to think about where he could have left his hat. He had washed it a couple of days ago, but he had worn it since then. Just yesterday morning, a new coworker had told George he liked his hat. George was starting to wonder if someone had stolen his hat. Now he was really getting mad. When it was George's turn at bat, he stepped up to the plate and swung at the ball with all of his strength. Strike! Yelled the umpire. George grunted. He wasn't used to getting strikes. The pitcher threw the ball again. Strike two! The umpire shouted. George was really frustrated now. First, he lost his hat. Now he was about to strike out. George thought to himself, I'm going to strike out because I don't have my lucky hat. Could this day get any worse? The pitcher threw the ball a third time. Bam! This time George hit the ball. The bat made a loud cracking noise when it struck the ball. The ball went flying all the way across the fence. It was a home run. Wow, great hit, George, Doug shouted. George ran around the bases while Mandy ran around the fence to get the ball. George heard his friends cheering him on as he ran. He felt great. After he crossed home plate, he gave Doug a high five. And there they are. You don't need your lucky hat after all, Doug said. George had forgotten about his lost hat until Doug said that. Why did you have to remind me about my hat? He asked Doug. He walked over to the bench and sat down. Now he was grumpy again. Doug followed him. George, you just got a home run without your hat. You don't need a lucky hat, but we can keep looking for it after the game if you want to. Doug was a very kind friend, even if he did like to play tricks on people. George looked up and noticed Mandy walking towards him. She'd gone to get his home run ball on the other side of the fence. Her hands were behind her back, and she looked like she was about to laugh. I have a present for you, George, Mandy said, and she handed George his lucky hat. My hat, George exclaimed. Where'd you find it? Well, it was near the ball on the other side of the fence. How did it get there? Mandy was curious. George remembered now. Last night during the baseball practice, a teammate had hit a home run. George walked behind the fence to find the ball. And as he was looking, a bumblebee began buzzing around him. It wouldn't leave him alone. I took off my hat to swat at the bee, but it didn't help. The bee kept chasing me. I must have dropped my hat when I was running away from the bee, George said. Well, thanks for finding my hat, Mandy. And he was all smiles now. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad I didn't find the bumblebee, Mandy laughed. Doug gave George a pat on the back. We're glad to see you smile, Slugger, he said. George was glad he went to play baseball with his friends instead of staying inside and hitting his pillow. It was much more fun to hit the baseball. And there's George, and he's got a huge smile on his face. I'm glad he went outside too. I think I would have had to been persuaded, but definitely a good idea. All right, here's our second story, and it does have in common about a friend who likes to play trick. Okay, and you're going to see a water buffalo, and there's the monkey, the mischievous monkey. And that's the title of the story, The Mischievous Monkey. Now, this naughty little monkey and the kind-hearted old buffalo both lived in an ancient forest next to a great grasslands. Every day when the sun was at its highest in the cloudless sky and it got really, really hot, the old buffalo would wander to the edge of the forest and rest in the cool shade of the trees. And there he would doze until the late afternoon. And then, when the heat was not so fierce, he would go out to graze with his herd on the grasslands. As for the mischievous monkey, his home was in the branches of the great tree. And every day, as the other monkeys sat grooming each other and chatting, he liked to wait for the old buffalo to doze off below. If we look closely, okay, we can see other monkeys up there. Monkeys in the tree, but not the mischievous monkey. Okay, I think I pointed to the wrong one. Here's the mischievous one. And it looks like he's pulling on the old buffalo's tail. Let's see what happens. I think I'll have some fun, the mischievous monkey would say, clapping his little hands. One day, the monkey waited until he was certain that the old buffalo was sound asleep. And then he swung down and hanging on a branch by his tail, just above the old buffalo's head, he screeched, "Wow!" The poor buffalo got such a fright, he jumped to his feet and looked around, but he couldn't see anyone. What was that? He murmured. Gotcha, laughed the little monkey as he threw leaves and nuts down on the old buffalo. And then he scampered off into the tree, howling with laughter. Oh, the old buffalo sighed, shook his head, and wandered off. That little fella gets naughtier by the day, he thought to himself, and went in search of a quieter place. Soon he found another inviting patch of shade and settled down to finish his afternoon nap. Oh, what a lovely spot, he said, before drifting off to sleep, unaware that he had been followed by the cheeky little monkey. The monkey had swung over the treetops and once again sat in the branches just above the old buffalo, listening carefully. As soon as he heard him start to snore, he crept silently down from the tree and along the ground through the grass to pull the buffalo's tail. Yow! Yelped the startled old buffalo. He got to his feet and was about to leave when he heard laughter. He got you again, laughed the naughty little monkey as he swung up into the tree. Before he disappeared, he looked back and stuck out his tongue at the old buffalo. Okay, and here he is, hanging right down from the old buffalo's tail. Oh dear, it looks like I'm not going to get any rest today, lamented the weary old animal. You're a big, strong buffalo, and you have sharp horns, so why do you let that mischievous monkey bother you all the time? Asked a squeaky little voice. What? Who said that? Oh, I'm so tired. I must be hearing voices, said the buffalo to no one in particular. Hey, over here, called the voice. And looking around again, the old buffalo spotted the source of the comment. It was a smiling little snail with a shimmering brown shell who was sitting on a rock near the tree. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Snail. I didn't see you there, said the old buffalo. And I imagine why he's so teeny tiny. I have to look very hard to see him. That's all right, chirped Mr. Snail. I'm small and not easy to spot, but you're big and strong. Why don't you put a stop to that little monkey's bad behavior? Well, I don't like bothering or hurting anyone, replied the buffalo, not even a tricky little monkey who shows me no respect. The kind-hearted buffalo then bowed to the snail and said, Thank you for your concern, Mr. Snail, but please don't worry about me. And he turned to wander back towards the grassland and find his herd. Later that afternoon, a lone, different buffalo came to the edge of the forest. He had a very bad temper, and because of this, all the other buffaloes usually avoided him. He had been walking for many hours, and he was very tired. So he settled down for a rest at the foot of the tree and fell asleep. The mischievous monkey was just finishing a rather large banana when he looked down from his branch high in the tree and noticed the sleeping buffalo. Oh, he's back, is he? Time for some more mischief, said the monkey, and he chuckled to himself, not noticing this was a different old buffalo. So he swung down from the branch to branch and somersaulted through the air onto the sleeping buffalo's back. The lone, old mean buffalo roared and shot to his feet. What do you think you're doing? He growled as he threw the little monkey off his back with all of his might. Ouch, cried the monkey as he hit the ground with a thud. Shocked, he realized it was the wrong buffalo. And now he was in big trouble because the angry buffalo was about to charge at him. The little monkey froze with fear. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, the kind old buffalo appeared, warded off the furious beast, and gently scooped the little monkey to safety. The wild buffalo stamped his foot, snorted, and trotted off unhappily. Oh, thank you, cried the little monkey gratefully to the old buffalo. But I've been so mean to you. Why did you take the trouble to save me? It was nothing, replied the wise old buffalo modestly. I just try to treat everyone as I'd like to be treated myself. And with that, he trundled off to have a rest in another lovely patch of shade that he spotted. And that's the end. Here's a little monkey. And he learned his lesson, I think, finally, about playing tricks on the wrong buffalo. And he learned about being kind to people instead of always thinking it was fun to make mischief. Okay, you guys, I think we have plenty of time because those were pretty short stories.